10. Fredbear's Golden Freddy. One theory I've seen plenty of times, and I'm pretty sure is mostly because of FNAF 4, is that Golden Freddy and Fredbear are the same animatronic, suggesting that the reason Golden Freddy is all limp in the original FNAF and FNAF 2 is because his endoskeleton was removed after Crying Child's bite in 1983, and that's why the suit has to teleport around and cause hallucinations, because it can't actually, move. This would also probably mean that Crying Child was the one in the Golden Freddy suit. However, we know this isn't true based on the characters being separate in Ultimate Custom Night, and just coloring and size, since Golden Freddy is much smaller than Fredbear would be. I mean, at least I hope. Since Fredbear would also have to accommodate a human, and Golden Freddy wouldn't have to necessarily, since he would just be an animatronic and not a spring-locked suit. But then again, we don't know, cause this is FNAF. And at 9, Yendo. Yendo might initially appear to be just the endoskeleton of Funtime Freddy, but it's more likely that he's the endoskeleton of another version of Freddy that's not yet suited, as Yendo has a right hand where Funtime Freddy would normally have a bonbon attached, but I mean, he's able to swap out the hand and you know. Many believe that the name Yendo though, which seems to be a combo of yellow and endo, alludes to him being an endoskeleton of a golden variation of Funtime Freddy, or just the original Golden Freddy endoskeleton that was removed prior to the first and second game. But I mean, again, I don't think so. And at 8, it's me. There are only 2 people who have gotten this Easter egg to my knowledge, and it involves the Curse of Dreadbear DLC and completing a game to be taken to the victory screen. There in that barn you'll find 3 posters reminiscent of the ones from the alleyway and pizzeria simulator. However, this is where the ability to unlock this Easter egg is determined. You need to get 3 clown posters, which is incredibly rare. I mean, you can get 3 of any of the other ones, but not 3 clowns. Trust me. And because I mean incredibly rare. Plus, then you need to hit them all with darts, which you only get 4 of, and if you miss 2 of them, you're boned. I've looked for this Easter egg for hours on both my personal channel during live streams and even on this one during a live stream from the previous lockdown, since I want to find this myself so I can prove to myself that it exists. Since if you manage to do this, the barn seemingly changes to a blacklight version, where the victory screen banner changes to read "It's me" and everything starts glowing because of a blacklight. YouTubers Johnny Blocks and apparently Daco are the only 2 to have gotten this Easter egg from what I've seen and what I've been told in the comments, but I haven't seen Daco actually get it. Not even MatPat was able to get this, and Eddie VR wasn't really trying. Some think that this is because Golden Freddy still has a hold on the FNAF world, and wherever Glitch Trap, or I guess William is, Golden Freddy will follow, because like Freddy and Foxy, they will chase after each other until the ends of reality. And at 7, the logbook. Some believe that there are 2 spirits possessing the security logbook, one of them being Golden Freddy and the other is the Crying Child. But I believe that these altered texts aren't another spirit, since it wouldn't really make much sense for 2 spirits to communicate in different ways, one using faded text and the other altering what was already in the book, and that seems very difficult. But I believe that these are hallucinations that we're seeing from Mike's perspective, but most believe the other spirit to be Golden Freddy. Why? Because they also believe that both spirits share the same animatronic. More on that later. But also, that's weird to me. Why would they both share the book, but also the animatronic? And why would they have to communicate through the book? Wouldn't they just be able to be like, yo, hey, this is me psychically communicating to you? And at 6, Phone Guy. We do hear Golden Freddy's jump scare at the end of the phone recording on night 4. We also hear Freddy's music implying that Phone Guy ran out of power. But is it possible that all the animatronics were present at this time and that Freddy therefore took part in killing Phone Guy? Cause if not, I would suggest that Golden Freddy at least didn't work alone. I mean, it would make sense with the 2 Freddys teaming up to take down the Phone Guy together, sharing their victory, I guess. But Golden Freddy being the culprit is also supported by the stuttering and murmuring we hear in the night 5 phone call, because that sounds an awful lot like the auditory hallucinations Golden Freddy causes us to experience throughout the nights. And come on, if anyone's going to kill Phone Guy, it's going to be Golden Freddy, let's just be honest. Phone Guy crashed a desktop. Halfway through, and at number 5, emotions. Now, you see, Golden Freddy has a lot of powers, and frankly, we don't understand why. My theory, though, is that they're actually the different emotions that we can experience, because let's be honest, a suit that is able to transport itself through walls and through doors is just redonk. So I'm guessing that while also experiencing agony, Golden Freddy is hella angry, and that anger is definitely what causes it to crash our game, to make it say it's me, to just make us see all kinds of crazy shit. It has to be the other emotions. I mean, what other explanation could there be? Sure, maybe he's doing it to try to signify that he's our brother, but he has to be able to do it somehow. And other than other emotions, we don't know what else it could be. We've seen no other explanation. Scott hasn't given one to us, it hasn't been in the games, even Fazbear Frights hasn't explained it. All they've given us is that emotions can be powerful or they can be unpowerful, but agony lets us possess things. So if that is the case, then what would anger do? What would sadness do? What would happiness do? I mean, I doubt any dead kids are experiencing happiness, but I mean, hey, maybe they figured out how cruel the world is and are now happy they don't have to pay rent. I don't know. Either way, it makes a lot of sense to me. And you know what? I'm gonna keep believing it until I'm proven otherwise. In at 4, the one you should not have killed. The one you should not have killed is, I guess, the main antagonist of Ultimate Custom Night. The character who most believed to be Cassidy is the one who's causing this whole situation, trapping William in his own mind while keeping him alive in order to torture him for his crimes. And while this may still be Cassidy, I think it could be Crying Child. I have a whole theory with my evidence as to why, so go check that out if you're interested. But no matter who it is, the one you should not have killed can't really be Golden Freddy from the looks. While the evidence certainly seems to point us in that direction, now we know that William isn't in hell or in purgatory in this game, but rather trapped in his own body, thanks to the story The Man in Room 1280 from the Fazbear Frights Book 5 Bunny Call. There is evidence in the form of the Stitch Wraith that multiple souls can possess one thing, however we have not seen evidence of characters being able to possess multiple big things at once. Cause like there was a character who, at least from what I've been told, was able to possess a lot of little things, but nobody has possessed two animatronics at the same time, let alone an animatronic and a person. In fact, in Bunny Call, William had to die for Andrew to be able to move on to the Stitch Wraith. So based on that evidence that we've seen, the one possessing William and the one keeping him alive, the one you should not have killed, can't be the one in Golden Freddy. Getting close to the end in at number 3, Crying Child. Some people believe that the one possessing Golden Freddy is Crying Child. This is mostly based on the It's Me hallucinations from FNAF 1 and the reveal that his older brother has been our player character over the first 6 games, excluding FNAF 4. So why would people believe this? Well, like I said, it would explain Golden Freddy's signature line of It's Me, since if we do play as Michael Apton in the first game, It's Me could just be the Crying Child trying to communicate with his older brother to tell him who he is. It could also explain the constant use of the phrase "It's me" in the security logbook, since some also believe it to be possessed by the spirit of Golden Freddy, or the two spirits inside the book are also those inside Golden Freddy. Which honestly, it makes no sense to me, because why would they be posing as why would they be possessing multiple things, like I said. Anyway, with the line of "It's me" being explained easily with Crying Child being Golden Freddy, it leads some to the conclusion that that must be what Scott intended, but let's be honest, it's never that easy. Penultimately, in at number 2, the 2-eye theory. The 2-eye theory states that in the FNAF 3 bad ending, that there are 2 eyes lit up in the head and the back, which we're guessing is Golden Freddy. I mean, it's confirmed in the Freddy files, but yeah. To show that there are 2 souls inside the suit. This actually can't be the case, and I'm gonna tell you why. Firstly, it would be more difficult to tell that it was an animatronic if only one of the eyes was lit, because like all we see are the eyes and like a little bit of the mouth, and it could very well just be the reflection of the light since it's so dark. I mean, you gotta take into account how light works. Notice how Freddy and the other animatronics also have light coming out of their other eyes. Secondly, Crying Child wasn't a thing yet in the games. Not coming until the next game, that wasn't even supposed to happen until the community was disappointed with the Springtrap jump scare, since this was supposed to be the end of the series that was confirmed by Scott in an interview. That's why we released the Souls in the Happiest Day minigame. Also notice that only one person wears a Golden Freddy mask in that minigame, and according to the official Freddy Files Updated Edition book, quote, "You'll see an image of broken animatronic heads, each with a lit eye," meaning that Golden Freddy in the back has only one eye lit. And I mean, like, considering how this is an official guidebook to the series, we gotta take it as law, right? Finally, in at number 1, Cassidy. Since the beginning of FNAF, we've been wondering about the mysterious and seemingly supernatural Golden Freddy, the entity able to travel through solid doors and walls, who gave us hallucinations and crashed our game when they got to us. Who was this mysterious thing? Over the years, we got a few names, but none of them were for Golden Freddy, most notably because of the gravestone ending in FNAF 6. But even with that, Golden Freddy's name was never given to us. Like, thanks, Scott. And if they are the one that you should not have killed, or if they aren't the one you shouldn't have killed. The name wasn't given to us in Ultimate Custom Night either. Like, come on. But alas, we were finally saved when the FNAF Survival Logbook came out, where after jumping through hoops, more hoops than Shaq has dunked on, we uncovered the name Cassidy. Thanks to Reddit user DPowerful1 taking various wrong numbers on different pages and making them coordinates in the word search, which I have to admit is still pretty weird because 8 and 11 at the end they weren't wrong numbers, they were just numbers that were there, but okay. And since the name Cassidy only appears in one other place, that being the fourth closet, the character doesn't really seem to mean much to the series. I mean, like, in that sense, like, the person who died to possess Golden Freddy doesn't really seem to matter, and that's kind of unfortunate. I originally stumbled upon this idea when researching more about my Michael Afton is a robot crying child theory, but this has nothing to do with that, I'm just providing context. The main piece of evidence I was looking for was that Cassidy would not share a vessel, so if Cassidy was possessing Golden Freddy, the amount of anger and agony that Cassidy has would not allow for another soul to possess the suit alongside her, no matter who it was, even if it was her killer's son, especially not her killer's son. So it's just Cassidy possessing Golden Freddy, I hear you asking? Because this would just be circumstantial and based on your opinion of how you see the character of Cassidy. You could see her as being more than willing to share the suit with William's son since they both suffered the same wickedness, right? Yes, and that is entirely true, except I have some ideas that would present an entirely different solution to this problem. Allow me to explain. Fazbear Frights has given us hints as to how the game world operates over the last year or so. So far, with 9 books in the series being released, with the 10th coming out on my birthday this year and an 11th shortly after. However, there is one book that I'd like to call attention to, and I'm sure you can all tell which one it's gonna be. In room 1280 of Heracles Hospital, something evil is keeping a man alive. A man with gruesome burns all over his body and an iron will to live. The man in room 1280 is the 3rd story in the 5th Fazbear Frights book Bunny Call, the only Fazbear Frights book that I currently own, for good reason. I have the 10th pre-ordered though, don't worry. The story, written by Andrea Wagner, revolves around a man with, as the book's summary described, horrific burns all over his body. His organs are exposed, his face is missing, he has burn marks all over his body, and this man was taken off life support years prior to the story, yet somehow is still alive. The story ends with this horrifically damaged man being taken to a Fazbear Entertainment distribution center where he promptly explodes. This story is obviously meant to represent or very well be William Afton, who did end up escaping the FNAF 6 fire but was horrifically damaged because of it. The story was meant to show us that William had a soul possessing him, the soul of a young boy with curly black hair, rosy cheeks, and an alligator mask. The mask being in reference to the Happiest Day minigame from FNAF 2. This explained how William always came back, how he survived the spring locking, the FNAF 3 fire, the FNAF 6 fire, and how he possessed a hard drive to be scanned in FNAF VR. He was taken to the warehouse before his death. But one thing always really bothered me about this story. Who is that kid? From what I understand in the epilogue, the boy then becomes a second soul inside of the Stitch Wraith, and that's what made everyone think that Golden Freddy had 2 souls, but I don't think that's what the story was trying to tell us. There's always been some form of confusion around the one you should not have killed, the one who keeps torturing William in Ultimate Custom Night. We all thought that it was Cassidy, who we assumed to be Golden Freddy, who was the one doing it, that she had trapped William in purgatory and was making him relive the horrors that he caused over all those years. But that, with the release of this book, was disproven, since William wasn't in purgatory or hell, but rather his own mind, stuck in the hospital either on life support or just being kept alive by this spirit, meaning that this kid would have to be the main antagonist of that game, the one that we see shaking at the end if we manage to beat 50-20 mode. This presents 2 different outcomes, neither of which are what we first expected though. It's weird, but I'm gonna go over them, don't worry. First, the simple answer. The kid from the Fazbear Frights books was just a deviation meant to show us that William was possessed by someone, showing us how he was kept alive, meaning that someone in the games would most likely be Cassidy, and the one you should not have killed was not Golden Freddy. Cassidy in this case would not be able to be Golden Freddy, since while multiple souls can possess one thing in FNAF canon, we have not seen evidence that one soul can possess multiple things. In fact, fact, that has been disproven time and time again in the series, with the puppet having to give life to the animatronics after they've had a soul, or I guess agony, inside of them. This would mean that Golden Freddy was either possessed by another soul, or that everything having to do with Golden Freddy is an illusion. The other outcome would be that this kid from the books, the boy with the alligator mask, is Crying Child. That William's son, after being sent to the hospital and put in a coma by Fredbear, went on to possess his father and keep him alive after learning of his misdeeds. This is just as likely a scenario for me, if not even more likely, since it explains a lot of what we hear and see from characters in Ultimate Custom Night, such as Nightmare Fredbear, whose appearance should only be known to the Crying Child, but it presents itself in William's nightmare, as well as multiple lines such as "We know who our friends are, and you are not one of them," which is in reference to when the Crying Child dies at the end of FNAF 4, when psychic friend Fredbear says, "We are still your friends, do you still believe that?" But remember that those Fredbear plushies are actually cameras created by William to watch his son, meaning that this line, if it was coming from Fredbear, would really be coming from William, as would the line "I will put you back together," which is also referenced in Ultimate Custom Night, when Nightmare Fredbear says, "I am remade, but not by you, by the one you should not have killed." How would Cassidy know about this line, about the "I will put you back together," about the appearance of any of the Nightmare animatronics for that matter, unless she had seen them herself? If this was Crying Child, it would make a whole heck of a lot of sense, especially because of that line, "I am remade, but not by you." It sounds sassy, like I was remade, but you didn't do it like you said you would. Like if your friend falls through on a promise, so then you say like, "Oh, I went bowling, but not with you." I have a friend who does that a lot. He's not even really a friend anymore, just because he is not really a good person. He's not watching, so it's fine. This also explains Nightmare's line of "the shadow fears me," which I originally thought was meant to be about William fearing death, since the purple of the purple guy was meant to represent a shadow. But the one thing that made me sure about this theory was the fact that the alligator mask boy from the man in room 1280 is described as a shadow. If this is the Crying Child, who was being referenced as a shadow, it would explain this line. Nightmare is the final antagonist of FNAF 4, the one that Crying Child fears the most, the representation of death, of William's wickedness. The Crying Child has to be the one who possesses William. I mean, it makes sense, William was there when Crying Child died. The Golden Freddy suit wasn't, but William was. When Crying Child died in the hospital, we know that from his lines going through psychic friend Fredbear, he was there with his son. As for why Golden Freddy is moving at the end of the game though, that could simply be a visual way of showing us that William would be back in the next game, by having one of his victims convulsing. Or it could be Crying Child showing William a version of the Fredbear plush. I think that this has to be the explanation, and if not, then Scott needs to fix his narrative structure, because not only does this make sense, it works in a story sense as well, and honestly fits so many things into place, and feels good in a narrative sense.